Ladies and gentlemen, let's Gaming Tentacom video. Let us discuss the PlayStation 4's game lineup for 2014. Now, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of excerpts of quotes from both Shuhei Yoshida alongside another quote from Jim Ryan. Of course, both of these guys are pretty key players over at Sony. So Shuhei begins by basically discussing indie development and indie games, and doesn't really understand why some people only prefer AAA titles. Basically doesn't understand why people don't like smaller games. He said, we are concerned a little bit when we work on a game like Little Big Planet 3 because people want those big budget, realistic military shooters. I was very happy to get a very positive reaction when we announced Little Big Planet 3, but there was a lot of cheers, a lot of affection, and the reaction Nintendo's games got in general, or of a game like Splatoon. If you look at the whole industry and you consider Nintendo, I think the balance is actually better than past years. He also says that not every PS Plus member downloaded it, and this is, by the way, in response to Resogun. He said, and that's a great game, and it's a key question for us. I hear complaints about lack of AAA games, and I do realise that some people are only interested in big budget AAA releases, and I don't really understand these people. I don't know if they've tried some of the indie games and they've just decided, I'm not interested. Maybe they haven't tried it. That's the key question. Almost every week you see an indie game coming out digitally on the PS4, and some of them are really interesting, beautiful games. We're fortunate that they're creating the games for the PS4, and some of them are choosing to launch their console's version on the PlayStation first. Now, moving on to the Jim Ryan quote. He was basically asked, do Sony feel worried about lack of AAA titles and exclusives on the PS4? And he said, I don't think so, not at all. We have The Last of Us remastered this summer, Destiny in early September, and everything else will accelerate with FIFA, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Drive Club, and the list goes on. There's no reason to worry. He also added, I forgot to mention Little Big Planet 3, Infamous First Light, SingStar. Moreover, much of the games from third-party publishers come with exclusive content and access, so I'm not worried. Now, this was a larger part of a larger interview, but effectively speaking, Game Cult, it's a French website, Cult, by the way, is spelt with a K. They were asking, with a lot of the titles going to be released now in 2015, how do they feel about this? Well, the problem is, in my personal opinion, and this is my personal opinion, this isn't fact or anything like that, but just my personal opinion, if you look at a lot of the titles on the PS4, they're okay, but this is pretty much the same with every console launch. The first year, it's meh, to be honest. Despite the fact that the PS4 was a good solid console, I personally believe that if you really look at a lot of the cross-platform titles, you might as well get them on the PC. I'll just be honest, like any PC gamer, any person I know that has a good PC, most of them are buying the titles on the PC because they're just playing better. So it's really the exclusive titles that I think people are looking for, and I don't think there's any like, oh my goodness, I need to buy a PS4 for this game. I really enjoyed Infamous Second Son. It was a great game. I don't think it was as good as Infamous 2, my personal opinion. It was a good solid game. It just wasn't quite up there in my personal opinion with Infamous 2. Killzone, good title, good launch title, definitely. I never got into the multiplayer of it. I've heard it's pretty good. I just personally haven't really bothered. But same thing, it was a good technical demonstration of what the console could do, but I didn't think it was like amazing. And you could say the same about a couple of other games on the PS4 as well. The Last of Us remastered, yes, it's going to have better visuals, yes, it's going to have better frame rate, yes, it's going to have all of the DLC and stuff included, but my argument would be it's not going to be a completely different story. It's not like it's The Last of Us 2. And that's not necessarily a criticism, but there are a lot of remastered or definitive or ultimate or whatever the hell you want to call these editions on this generation of consoles. And so Arguably, The Last of Us Remastered, yes, if you've not played it on the PS3, it's definitely one to pick up. But if you've played the PS3 version, I don't necessarily know if it's worth buying it on the PS4. Maybe if you could get it fairly cheaply and you haven't played, say, some of the DLC, maybe it could be worth it to, check out Ellie's story. But other than that, And I could also level the same criticism on the Xbox One as well, to be honest. So, I don't know. I mean, when you start looking at games like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, they're all available on all the consoles, including, in most of these cases, well, the previous generation as well. Now, I'm not criticizing Sony. This is a problem that all of them have right now. Lack of exclusives, because frankly speaking, games cost so bloody much to produce. It's not like they can just make them with a shoestring budget. And this goes back to what Shuhei is saying. At the end of the day, it's a lot more technically feasible to regularly and routinely have a steady stream of indie games than what it is to constantly release AAA titles, because there's also got to be a lull, because most people can't afford, let's just take British prices just for example, most Brits can't afford like £45, £50, £60 in some cases games every single week. Sure, there are some that can, but a lot of the majority just don't, and even if they could, they don't have the time to do it. So you've got to kind of stagger releases, unless of course like it's Christmas period and then everyone's competing against each other as well. So there's always those type of things, and that's why indie titles are so bloody important for these guys. And this is the same for Microsoft as well, even why Nintendo now are starting to get in on the act. So I'm just curious, what do you guys think of this? Like, are you happy with the titles so far released on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4? Do you feel like it's not as good as previous generations? Personally speaking, I think it's about what I expected. I bought the PS4, and I thought to myself when I bought it, I'm probably not gonna be playing it a huge amount at the start. I've been playing Resogun quite a bit. I think that's pretty cool. Definitely some of the indie titles, Don't Starve, I've been playing a little bit. Obviously, yes, I have been playing some of the titles that I have bought, for example Sniper Elite, but ultimately, because I do have a good gaming PC, most of the time I do prefer to play on that. Just better graphics, to be honest with you, better frame rate, and so the main reason that I do play the consoles is exclusive content. And whether, most of the time, like an hour, 30 minutes, an hour, a couple of missions, or whatever it is, it's not enough to lure me onto the PS4 version for the PC. And it's the same for the Xbox. It's like, okay, if you're literally right in the smack bang in the middle and you don't know which version to get, let's say you own a PS4 and an Xbox One, you might just pick up the PS4 for the extra bit of content. But simultaneously, if, let's say it's a multiplayer game, let's say it's Destiny, and let's say they've got a little bit of extra content on the PS4 versus the Xbox One, what about if all your friends are playing on the Xbox? Would you really give a crap about a little bit of extra content and a couple of extra missions? I personally wouldn't. I'd think to myself, bugger this, I want to play with John, Tom and Luke, whoever the hell John, Tom and Luke are. I don't want to play, pretty much without my buddies. So in other words, you're going to go really with who's got the games. It's just, a little bit of rambling on my part. Anyway, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.